Okay, there we go. Iron Freedom.
He was the first to it. There's
Nice. 7. Awesome.
Now,
Iron. Yep.
Do you want to guess who those belong to?
I'm gonna go on a limb and say GodWhale.
All 7.
All
different
7.
addresses, but these are his known addresses. All 7. One of which has 316,000 T-shares in it. That's a big one. That is a big one. That is basically maxed out and everything.
Wow.
So that is, that's something that I've been wanting to pull the data on for quite some time. And thanks to, the help of the subgraphs, I was able to finally pull that data. And it's interesting to see how or why the GodWhale tipped his toe in. He dipped his toe in the staking from one mint, but he's got all these other ones that he hasn't touched yet, other than claiming the 10x T-shares.
So in your opinion, should we consider those coins, dormant? How would you factor, if you're, investing in Hedron and Icosa, how would you factor in GodWhale's moves into your model? Are you like, is he like the OA? Is he like a baby OA? What do you think?
Well, he definitely, from what I can tell, he aligns very closely with a lot of what Richard Hart kind of says and does, and that sort of a thing. I think that as long as I don't foresee any reason for him to try to ruin his bags, right? He's got a lot of value tied up, not tied up, but just kind of given to him via Hedron. So why would he want to blow up his own bags, right? And
well,
if he minted them all,
right? Like he's stuck. He can't really. There's no liquidity to actually get anything from a lot of his stuff unless he's just planning on dumping forever.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's part of it for sure. I think the interesting part is that because he claimed those 10x multipliers, as we know in this ecosystem, the Hedron SA will receive all copies of those, right? So in the event, so let's look at a doomsday event, right? Let's just look at doomsday. Let's say he mints all of his Hedron and tries to force the price of Hedron Icosa to 0. The SA has tools in its arsenal to make the system whole again because of that bonus or the copy, if that makes sense. So, we've seen things like injecting a yield. We've seen that. We've seen burning. There's a lot of things that the SA could do to counteract such a move. But I think it's safe to say that the yield that we'll be getting in the future is going to dictate a lot on what the SA does and what the GodWhale does. So those are just 2 wallets you should keep an eye on. I don't think there's a clear shot, answer to this and what you should do, just based on what we've seen so far. But I don't know, Huey, what do you think? Is that something you're worried about?
No, so just thinking out loud, I remember somebody made the point about the OA having 20% staked, and there's a reason for that. So I'm just wondering if the GodWhale is benevolent, then is there a reason that they want to keep their percentage kind of low instead of minting all of their Hedron and taking over the pool, which might be bad for the system in general? So maybe it's advantageous for them for the GodWhale to maintain a lower percentage to kind of not ruin it for everybody else and keep the interest in the system. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's legit. Absolutely. What do you think, Max?
I was just thinking of, I'm kind of tied up in my imaginary horrible of, other than the OA selling, wouldn't it be like the worst day in the history of the ecosystem if the GodWhale just starts forever dumping? I was just like, this whole dystopia just came over me. I was like, whoa. I know it's completely fan fiction, but I was just like, I never thought about the GodWhale. He's been so benevolent. He's been awesome for, Hedron, Icosa, Hex, of course. And, he's got some vested interest in PulseChain ecosystem too. But if that would just be the complete 180, right? It would be like totally against every action everything he's ever done to actually sell any of this stuff, really. So I'm trying to turn it into like a good thing too. Like that's so. If that's the worst I can think of, and there's no reason to believe you would ever do that, like that's bullish in my mind.
Yeah, interesting stuff.
Panic.
quickly.
Quickly sell my liquidity bullish, so it's too late.
Well, it's like this is something that has existed since day one. It's not like it just now became a reality, right? This is something we've always known. And I think the people who are really concerned about the 10x bonuses were talking about this sort of scenario from the get-go. Where I saw it is more of a scenario where, okay, there's a set number of 10x multiplied stakes, and those go down nearly every day as those stakes end, right? And then they leave the system, and now there's one less stake with a 10x multiplier on it. You will notice if you start pulling up 9x multipliers and etc., they dramatically drop off. The number in the amount of T shares are available in each one of those multipliers. So I think the only way to look at it, based on now that we have, over 6 months of history with Icosa and the staking, that if he wasn't pulling the trigger to be negative to the ecosystem by now, then there's no reason to think he's going to do it later.
Exactly.
It is number 2 on the Hedron staking list. Is that part of the trivia, or can we say what wallet that is?
Oh, I know that one.
Not part of it. No, this one.
Yeah, with the 5.9%.
Mm-hmm.
FDAD, the FDAD one.
Yes, we know this one won't end stake until 15 years or around then.
Until the max length stake at that time that it was created. So it'd be like a Quattrocinco from the date that contract was made, if I remember correctly. Does that sound right, Huey?
Yeah, sounds right. Yeah, and I think it was made when the auction started.
Yep.
Around then.
So that is the Poly Maximus address.
Oh, nice.
So that's the stake that it pulled.
Patrice called it. Nice.